We've all seen Hollywood examples of the transvaluation of values. A good example, I guess, is Hannibal Lecter, who concludes that, well, since God causes disasters that result in widespread suffering and massive loss of life or whatever, that to actually cause this sort of thing, suffering, loss of life or whatever, is to become more godlike. That's sort of a transvaluation of Christian values, where you sort of, or Judeo-Christian, where you right becomes wrong, wrong becomes right. My other favorite example, of course, is Walter Kurtz from Apocalypse Now, who just concludes that the jungle is actually evil, and he's going to join the jungle and become evil and beat the Viet Cong by being more evil than they are. And at first it seems to actually pan out, but in the process he quote-unquote loses his way and discovers at the end that the jungle actually disapproves of what he's doing, at least in a philosophical sense, because the jungle isn't evil, it isn't good. It just is. It's neutral. It doesn't favor the VC and it doesn't favor the Americans. It's just watching what's happening and noting everything and not really interested in the outcome. Now, this is all metaphorical, of course. So the question arises then: how do you motivate yourself to do what one might say is the right thing to do? Which we kind of, I think most of us sort of have some inkling as to what the right thing might be. Now, I had an interesting discussion with darthbarracuda on Gary's channel in Mendham, where an interesting point that's often raised in my discussions, I'll just quote him directly, him, I think. So just because all memory is lost, it means it's okay to do whatever we want to other people. In other words, if we can expunge our past, that means that there's no break on what we might call improper or immoral or unethical or damaging behavior. That's how I read this. Please feel free to correct me, Darth Barracuda, assuming, of course, you're even going to watch this video. That's an unknown as yet. No, I would counter that with, just because something is not okay doesn't make it okay. Yeah, I might say that it's not an evil thing to do to cold cock somebody in the streets, somebody who's a lot smaller and weaker than me. It's not nice for me to just walk up and punch them right in the face, especially if I'm walking down the street at night and I can get away with it and, there are no actual legal repercussions. And let's say that I've abolished my conscience and I'm not going to feel guilty about it. Sort of Jack the Ripper type behavior, really. I better watch that. Watch the metaphors, that is, because I'm just sort of, doing a thought experiment here. Why would I not do that if my conscience is not going to be affected either way by this? Why should I not just do whatever we want to other people, to quote Darth? Well, there are any number of reasons why I wouldn't harm somebody or something. I've had a cat for over a decade. The cat is essentially at my mercy, and I wouldn't harm the cat at all. My wife actually gets angry because I don't really discipline the cat very much. I discipline my son a lot more, but not the cat. Why am I not abusing the cat, even though I don't hold that there is any such a thing as guilt, or any such thing as I'm not worried about being caught and punished for harming my cat. Well, I like my cat. Why do I want to harm things that I like? In fact, it's reasonable, I think, to say, in as much as one can love an animal, I love my cat. I don't want to harm my cat. I don't need the restraints of conscience to stop me from doing this. I just won't do it. Same thing for my wife, I suppose. My son. Why don't I harm them? I don't want to. Why is that not enough? I think most people avoid doing bad things not because they're worried about the implications, but because they don't want to do that sort of thing. You don't need coercion, and guilt is coercion, to stop you from doing the bad. You can take off the restraints, in many cases, safely. Why? Because love and trust have been established. When I go into, for example, let's say I'm one of these people who spends time with dangerous animals like lions or gorillas or something like this, bears, whatever. Well, bears are dodgy, but, we've seen these people on TV that approach gorillas, say, or lions or tigers, like the animal keepers. Why don't the animals attack them and kill them? Because the animals trust them, and the animals have probably gotten bounds of friendship with them, or perhaps dependency. The animal knows this human doesn't really mean me ill because every day he gives me huge chunks of meat to eat. So maybe he's not an enemy, and maybe I don't need to harm him. And he kind of scratches me behind the ears as well, which I really like. So looks to me as though he may actually like me. He may actually be on my side type thing. So me goring him with my paws and killing him is not exactly something I want to do. My cat likes to just sit in my lap and purr. He doesn't seem to think that I'm about to kill him. I wonder why that is. Well, I would assume he knows that I wouldn't do it based on all my past behavior, although at the end of the day, he's at my mercy no matter what. But he goes, I'm sure in his mind he thinks, okay, do I have any reason to mistrust this person? He's never done anything that is dangerous to me. And he seems to be affectionate towards me. And in as much as I don't know if animals can read one's feelings, some people say you can, he actually has, if I listen to his heart rate and everything, he has positive vibes for me, thinks my cat. He doesn't want to harm me, so I don't have to worry about him being restrained by mind games to stop him from harming me, thinks my cat. I think of my son the same way. Why does he trust me? Well, he's got no reason not to. It doesn't occur to him, I'm sure, that I'm just going to, out of the blue, do something bad. I'm sure parents do this all the time, but I haven't done it yet. I don't think I'm going to. It doesn't seem to be in my nature to do it. Why do I need some sort of restraint to prevent me from doing bad? How about a positive motivation to not do bad or even to do good? Love is one. There are many of them. Instead of just a positive reason not to do something wrong, how about a positive reason to actually do something good, something beneficial, something that is more than just an equilibrium in terms of value? I think that joy and love are positives. They're not just the absence of negatives. I think the feeling of being loved is a positive. It's not just the absence of negatives. The feeling of trust is not just an absence of negative, it's a positive. All these things can be cultivated. All these things can be worked at and become a matter of habit. Instead of having to worry about the consequences of me cold cocking somebody in the streets at night and getting away with it, how about I just cultivate feelings of love for all the strangers, and I don't actually, the idea of me punching strangers in the face in the dark doesn't even come up. Because if you love somebody, you don't punch them in the face. The whole idea of doing so doesn't appear. Now, I'm not saying love is an easy thing to do. Humans are imperfect. Humans are very difficult to love. Let's be honest. I know that for certain. I'm one of the most difficult people I know to live with, but my wife has somehow apparently found it in herself to love me. So it is possible, at least. There are people out there that seem to have something resembling quote-unquote love for everybody, and same thing. It doesn't occur to them when they're bustling through a crowd to lose their temper and start macing people with their bear repellent or whatever they've got. It just doesn't come up because they're feeling more positive than negative about the people around them. which I presume can be cultivated. Therefore, the idea of doing something sociopathic doesn't even arise. We don't need negative restraint. It's not the only reason to not do something unethical. The restraints of guilt, or retribution, or justice, or the old karma's a bitch thing. There are other reasons to do the right thing, or there are other reasons to even refrain from doing the wrong, which I don't think are the same thing, by the way. I do believe that there is such a thing as the right, or the good, as opposed to just avoiding the wrong. Anyway, I hope this didn't get too long-winded, Darth, but you raised an interesting point, and I wanted to address it as best I could.